American or international listeners, what's Christmas Eve like, or or Christmas Day? I mean, what are there traditions there that are pretty much set in stone? We have to do this on Christmas Eve, or this is definitely something we do every Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day. Now it's this set of traditions or these sorts of things that we do as the day progresses.
No, surprisingly, it's quite similar to America. I mean,
Okay.
where you would have everybody shopping the last minute. Our tradition was kind of, family and friends gifts the night before. They have a quasi party, and then like you'd say Santa gifts the next day, and like you'd have the lunch or the dinner, and at your like 3 o'clock, and it's very very similar to that's
At
pretty
least the
much
way we grew
universal.
up.
Yeah, and that's the way it is in Ireland across the board. I mean, some people don't do the New Year's Eve tradition. I personally like it because it kind of turns one event into two. But besides that, it's very straightforward. Everybody's getting up super early to watch the kids open up their presents, and you're into it. And then the churchgoers go to church, and the dinner's at 2, 3, 4 o'clock, and you just go in until you pretty much are going home.
And what's
Until
for
9 or 10.
dinner? What's the traditional dinner, or what's everybody having, or are they having different things depending on what house you're at?
No, they're all having the turkey and ham because we don't have a Thanksgiving, or they don't have a Thanksgiving. So they're not kind of turkeyed out. This is their big chance. And what I was seeing there is like it was almost like a competition who's making the biggest turkey,
Okay.
for the farmers and stuff like that. We have a big turkey, and even on St. Stephen's Day, like there's Ireland's pretty big with regards to like their hunt. And so like the farmers, the hunt is kind of like a fox hunt, and a
Hmm.
lot of outside rural Ireland, everybody has their horses, and they'll do their hunt, and it goes through everybody's like farms and stuff, and the farmers would like make such big turkeys and hams that they would have like sandwiches for people that wanted to stop by, even if it was just like, oh, there's Johnny's house, I'll go say hello to Johnny, and Johnny
Yeah,
or Johnny's mom has sandwiches ready to rock. And that's kind of, hard border kind of goes into that in chapter 2 and 3 and 4,
we do.
about that little Christmas tradition. But the hunt is, for the rural part of Ireland outside the cities, is a pretty big deal. And so they're building, the farmers are making some pretty big turkeys, and, for that kind of tradition. But it's everything. It's turkey, it's ham. And you got to understand, like, outside rural Ireland, they're having big dinners every Sunday. I mean, it's
Right.
not turkey, it's like a roast. It's always potatoes, it's always a veg, it's always a few desserts. That's their Sunday. It's a kind of Sunday's a miniature Christmas, really, because you're starting and you're just in the whole day. But Christmas is more like, okay, you got your gifts, it's more merry. A lot more people are coming over because a lot of people do jump between houses just to
Yep.
visit. So they'll have their dinners at 3 or 4, and then they'll go on a tour of kind of, I'm going to go over to Johnny's house and have a whiskey, and then I'll move on to, Deirdre's house. And they make the rounds because, again, when they all go home, they all have cousins everywhere, and they
Yes.
all want to go to see their cousins.
Yep.
And, they're all drinking, they're all having their own kind of thing. And, they get pretty big, and there's a lot of laughing. And so that's kind of where in America, maybe you're just sitting in one place. They'll start hopping and going around, and it's kind of just the activities they have. And it seems like it works.
So, and as you said, out in the country or kind of the rural areas, it's very much a drop-in culture, to say, I'm passing by, I'm going to go into the house, or I'm going to stop by and see what's going on, see what's happening there. And that was the way we grew up and what we saw. And some of that was we had relatives who didn't have a telephone, went back in the early kind of 70s, 80s time frame. And so people would just drop by, and you would see, headlights coming up the driveway. And it's like, who is this? And you didn't mind who was coming up. So it sounds like Christmas time is really that on steroids, where everybody is doing that. Everybody's out and about. And that's the way it goes for at least those couple of days, if not through the week.
Pretty much, that's exactly it. They're all stopping by, and it's quite festive, and they always have desserts. I mean, they're
Right.
making like not one dessert, it's 4 or 5, and a ton of drinks. Drinks are always flowing. Drinks,
Sign me
and
up.
it's very a hospitable season because, like we have all our aunts and uncles there, and you're staying even on the Sunday. If you just the Sunday dinners there, you're not without an alcoholic beverage in your hand, if that's your thing, or a cup of coffee or a biscuit or whatever it is. So it's always kind of like keeping you fed, and there's always starters, and so it's a really quite nice, and it's always packed. It's like cousins coming from every direction. I think that's the benefit of going home, that you have your cousins are all going home, and it's very much that tribal thing. And I think I alluded to it in episode 1 of the podcast, that it's still very, Ireland is made up of 30 counties, and each county is completely different and has their own kind of set of ways they do things to a degree, and they all have their family that kind of go back and migrate back to it, and so it's quite awesome. And then the 26th, it's kind of like, okay, now we're going down to town, and and go to the disco or the club, and it's kind of, that's how it sets off.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It sounds somewhat idyllic, something of like Lord of the Rings, the Shire type of attitude of just sitting around, again, kind of smoking the pipe and those sorts of things back in the day. But there is still a big part of that in the culture. But it's great that is still the case. I know we talk a lot about some of the things that are going in Ireland that aren't all that great, and some things that are really good and traditional and fun and wholesome still do exist. So we definitely want to touch on that, for the Christmas season, and remind everybody of that. So this has been great, Jay.
But again, thinking of that, just in that regard, though, we're talking like this homeliness is in the rural part, and that's the part they want to collapse. I mean, they want to kill everybody's cows for the environment, and they want to make everybody a coder. Those are the values that the man wants to see gone, and those are the things they want to. I mean, I haven't spent time in Christmas time in Dublin particularly. It was always going out to the country for these sort of events. I mean, up to a point you would spend in Dublin, like just for the shopping, and it's all very festive and great and like good time. But that homeliness that we just discussed is not. I don't know about it in Dublin. I only know it in the rural. But the stopping by, I don't think you get that in Dublin. That's very much a kind of a country outside Dublin, should we say. I'd say Cork is very much like that as well, which is the second biggest city in Ireland, and Galway. The stopping by mentality would still be very much alive. And but in Dublin, they're very much more modern, or so they would like to portray. And I don't know if that really goes on as much. I mean, it'd be more almost American, where it's like, we're going to go over to mom and dad's house and, have the dinner and get on with our lives. But there's no kind of sitting by the fire for 2 days while people are dropping by on their horses, hunting a fox or whatnot, or going golfing and coming back, and etc.
Well, we